Shavua Tov from me, Rolene Marks, as we gather for another week of looking at your top stories making headlines in Israel, and we do it right here on the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land. And we begin with the big story that is dominating Israeli headlines, and that is the latest on protests and the proposed judicial overhaul. Now, protests increased in size on Saturday night. An estimated crowd of about 300,000 gathered in Tel Aviv. Meanwhile, other protests were held around the country in places like Eilat, Haifa, Beersheba, Modi'in, and even on settlements inside the West Bank. Now, this is an important point because this proves that the issue is for many Israelis not about election results or religious versus secular or right versus left. This is what many Israelis see as an assault on democracy. The general consensus amongst Israelis is there does need to be reforms, but what reforms and how will this affect the much needed checks and balances that Israel needs, because the country does not have a constitution, but rather a declaration of independence with rights enshrined by the Supreme Court will be put forward. Meanwhile, the voices of dissent are growing more numerous and include now Miriam Adelson, the philanthropist who is extremely pro-Israel. She warned that these proposed overhauls are rushed and irresponsible. Joining her is the special envoy on anti-Semitism, Noah Tishby, who is a well-known actress and producer, who said that these proposed overhauls in their current state constitute a coup. Former Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit has warned that Israel could face international ostracization as a result of the overhaul. And Abraham Accords partner, the United Arab Emirates, said yesterday that unless Netanyahu can rein in his government, they will stop buying Israeli defense systems. The current IDF Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi, also warned about the proposed overhaul, saying that the military can only operate in a democratic state. Now, 255 US investment experts have warned that should these overhauls in their current state go through, it could impede the amount of cash flow into investments in Israel and could have a dire effect on Israel's economy. On Thursday night, President Herzog addressed the nation for the second time in as many weeks, and in his speech, which many found to be the firmest and most hard-hitting out of his speeches to the nation, he addressed Israel's leadership directly, saying, "Throw away these proposed overhauls." Now, yesterday, the president also met with Simcha Rothman, who is one of the architects of the overhauls in their current state. And while Rothman said afterwards he disagrees with some of the points put forward by the president, he says his door is always open and he hears the concerns of Israelis who are protesting. This is the biggest story that is dominating the headlines here in Israel, and it is one that we will be following closely. Some of you have asked, why is the military so vocal? And one of the reasons for that is because the Supreme Court plays a vital role in ensuring that Israel's military, when they are on very important operations, operate within the remit of the law and provide the necessary checks and balances, as a Supreme Court or a constitution would do in any democracy, not just Israel. But failure to have those necessary checks and balances in place could mean that our soldiers, our military is not protected should the International Criminal Court or International Court of Justice seek to charge members of the military, even though they have acted within the law. We now go to Washington, where hundreds protested Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich's speech to the Israel Bonds Convention last night. While many protested the proposed judicial overhauls, others also protested his comments just a couple of weeks ago about the Palestinian village of Huwara. Smotrich tweeted out that, or rather said at a finance convention, that he believes that Huwara should be sealed off and burned to the ground, and that the state of Israel should be the one to do it. Now, he drew widespread condemnation, including from his coalition partners, and he did take to Facebook last week to apologize to the IDF, saying that he didn't realize that his comments could be seen as a command. And meanwhile, yesterday it was also announced that spokespeople for the Conference of Presidents, the Jewish Federations of North America, the ADL, the AJC, and AIPAC will not be meeting with Smotrich while he is in Washington this week. What is being seen as quite incredible is that he is the one to unite both these left-leaning and right-leaning American Jewish organizations. Now, many progressive Jewish organizations in America petitioned for him not to be given a visa to enter the United States. However, the government declined that, saying that he would be able to enter unimpeded. On Thursday night, a Palestinian gunman opened fire at diners in a restaurant in Tel Aviv, seriously injuring 3. The terrorist was neutralized, and while 2 of the victims remain in serious condition, 1 has been released from hospital. Meanwhile, the families of the 2 victims who remain in hospital have thanked Israelis and Jews around the world who have come out in their droves to say prayers for a speedy recovery. Hundreds of Israelis gathered on Dizengoff Street on Friday night to pray for a speedy recovery and the well-being of the 2 victims. And we end our broadcast today on a positive note, and that is Team Israel Baseball beat Nicaragua 3-1 in the opening of the World Baseball Champions. Hey, who knew we had a baseball team? Well, apparently we do, and they play quite well. Israel, largely seen as the underdog, managed to beat the Central American country, and we look forward to the rest of their performance and wish them Bahatzlacha. And if you want to catch up on all your news and all our articles that we often feature on the Israel Brief, please look at our website at www.layoftheland.online. All our archived articles are there, our new articles, our brief recaps, and much, much more. We are also on YouTube. Our channel is at the Israel Brief. Please like, share, and subscribe. We're on Twitter at layoftheland5 and on Facebook at Lottel's site. We know many of you say you don't always see us on Facebook, so if you do, please like us, follow us, share our content. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, and we'll check in with each other tomorrow for your top stories.